Hey everyone, welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. 99% of traders will never make consistent profits. So why listen to the 99% of advice? On this show, we're going to challenge some of the most hallowed and repeated tenets of trading. And in doing so, set you up to succeed where others fail. Spoiler alert, we don't have a secret strategy or magic wand that will let you skip out on the hard work of learning the markets. But we can debunk viewpoints that are holding you back. If that sounds good to you, come join us. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. Jordan, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Good. It's the start of we're recording this on a Monday, so it's the start of a new week. We're back on the markets. Everything's looking up. Jordan, you already had a successful trading day, I hear.
Yep. Up a percent here. So always a good way to start the week, right?
Yeah. Starting the week on a winning note. So today we were wanting to talk about strategies. This is one of the most often looked up and searched terms when it comes to day trading. It's one of the most talked about. It's what you will see when you're on social media. This is the big one, right? What strategy do you use? That's what everybody asks. And so we wanted to talk today, first off, what strategy is, what it isn't, and how that kind of relates to your day trading and how to use it and what to expect and what not to expect. In our experience, strategy is often used as sort of a blanket term to talk about essentially quick fixes. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, strategies are the guru's way of making a bunch of money, right? So,
Yeah.
if any guru is going to go on any website, they're going to like, well, pay us a bunch of money and we'll teach you the strategy to make a bunch of money. And the fact is, the strategy is not so much as, oh, if this indicator says A and this indicator says B, it's more like a strategy is more your edge. And that's defined not only
Mhm.
by, okay, your rules for entry and exit and for dealing with losses and wins, etc., but also for essentially mentally preparing for it, right? It's your mental edge. And that's all combined as one into what we define as a strategy, not simply just, hey, here's the secret indicator when it hits the Brachiosaurus tail at the fib level of 0.76854, then you take a sell.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree. So strategy is in the way we define it, strategy is the package between the rules you have, but also the edge that you build over time with sort of your just hours and hours of practice. I think we often go to this well, but people use strategy as sort of a magic thing that if you have the right strategy, you'll get money, instead of viewing strategy as a tool that that you use to increase an already winning trader, right? So for instance, if people blame strategy if they're losing, and they're always trying to chase the right strategy. And it's similar to the guy who who shanks one off on the fairway when he's golfing, takes a driver and shoots his ball into the woods, and then blames it on the club. And what that, of course, if you're with that guy, you're going, oh, wait a second, it's not the club, right? The reason you shanked it off in the woods is because you're no good, right? And
Yeah.
the reason, I don't blame people, because the reason people blame strategy is because we as humans are full of ourselves. And so if we're losing money, it's
Yeah,
got to be the strategy.
we don't
Yeah.
want to admit that we suck.
No, right. So
And yeah, I think you bring up a great analogy with the whole golf club analogy, right? Because let's be honest, pretty much any of the main strategies you see online, you go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, any one of those strategies wielded by people who actually know how to trade can be profitable. There's nothing
yeah,
wrong with most of the strategies if you take just the strategy by itself, right? Like when we say strategy, their strategy, where they say, okay, this is how I base off my trades, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what they're also failing to tell you. And honestly, and we've discussed this, maybe what they even fail to realize is that they can't even quantify why they're taking their trades. They may tell you, okay, I'm taking the trade because of this. Well, honestly, that's not the reason they're
yeah,
taking the trades. It's why they think they're taking the trades, or maybe it's some confirmation, but there's much more to it than simply, take a trade at this level, or, minus some of the very poor trades where it's just like, oh, buy or sell if this indicator flashes a number.
yeah. Yeah, it's the pro golfer says he's amazing at driving because of his club. Well, okay, maybe like again, we're not throwing strategy under the bus completely, because strategy does matter to eke out more wins and less losses, and to kind of hone your increase and hone your win rate, right? But that's it only matters if you're a winning trader to begin with. It only matters if you've already conquered your psychology, if you've already killed all your bad habits, if you're already um able to trade with money in a way that is just as you would trade with no, with paper money, right? So it only matters when you've already reached that point. Just as getting a good golf club, yeah, it matters, but only if you're already a good golfer, right? If
Yeah,
if I go to the range, I'm a
exactly.
trash golfer. If I go to the range, it makes no difference whether I'm playing with $1,000 club or one that I just borrow from the from the driving range. It makes no difference to me, none. So when people view strategy, please, we're begging of you, just remember, if you're a losing trader, it's probably not because of your strategy, right? It's because you have losing mindsets and you haven't put enough time in. Like
Yeah,
it's going to take time, and that's not what people want to hear. People want to hear, hey, I have a strategy, I have a quick fix, and here's your fix, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, people spend so much money to sit with gurus and watch them trade their strategy. And the fact is, a guru trading their strategy, there's some that are faking it, but there's also quite a few out there that they trade their strategy and they make a lot of money doing it. And the funny thing is, you can take their same strategy, their same rules, and you try to trade it, and you will fail. Why? Because they've been
Yeah.
spending years and years trading that strategy, and they understand, even if they don't know how to verbally say it, they understand that there's more to that strategy than simply A plus B equals C, right? And so,
Yeah.
as a new trader, what you need to do is, honestly, you study certain things, and we'll go into a couple podcasts about beginner traders and what we recommend. But essentially, find a strategy you like, pick it. It should be on a short time frame, right? So you can get those reps in, and then just stick with it for use. And when I say stick with it for, oh, well, you're gonna have to stick with it for the foreseeable future, until you learn how that strategy works. And I would recommend, of course, find someone who trades your type of style and it works for them. So it's not just don't just pick any randos strategy off the internet, but pick a good strategy that works for people who you respect, who you trust, and then just start putting in those reps, put in those golf clubs, go to the driving range and start hitting those drives.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that gives that's a good backdrop before we didn't want to start talking about any specifics about strategy before we said that. We would have been remiss to have talked strategy before we said that. If you're a losing trader, strategy probably isn't your issue. That's just strategy is just a tool. But that said, now that we've kind of laid that groundwork, um, I think it might be a decent idea to at least maybe give everybody an idea on kind of how we trade. Not that you should copy how we trade, but just to give an idea, especially because we our strategies are slightly different, and we can both make money trading different strategies. It might be a decent idea to give people an idea of how we trade and how that kind of compares.
Yeah, yeah. So like for instance, I trade at the 5 minute. I mean, I'll put in some daily, I'll go in and I'll do some levels on just put some daily support and resistant lines in there. And then essentially I just drop down to the 5, put a support and resistance approximately where I think, where it's consolidated, and I just wait for it to break that support or resistance. When it does, I wait for a retest. When it comes back and retests, I enter. This is all done on the 5. And if it doesn't retest, then I just don't enter, and I just sit down and wait for another day. I mean, that's all
Yeah,
I do. It's and
yeah,
I trade 5 indices. I trade gold, oil, well, commodities, but those are commodities. And then I trade 3 indices, German 30 and US 30, and occasionally NASDAQ. But honestly, I try to avoid NASDAQ. How about you?
yeah, and yeah. So that's a pretty classic. That's a pretty classic strategy, like the whole breakout and retest. And it sounds again like that's it sounds so simple, and then you try to actually trade it, and it's
Yeah.
just not that simple. It's so there's so much feel to that. Mine is it is similar. I typically I trade on I try to trade established trends and buy pullbacks. Um, and I'm trading on the 1 minute on gold and the NAS. And I trade with taking into account momentum. And this goes back to when I was learning. I kind of realized all my winners, and I remember telling you this, Jordan,
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
were
yeah.
all my winners take so long to win. If I win, it takes so long. And if I lose, like I lose immediately. Like I'll take a trade and I will lose that same candle. It'll be done. And it was like, what am I doing? And I realized I was kind of trading against momentum. And
You're
so I
essentially
like
trying to trade reversals.
yeah, I like trying, but I like trying to trade quick reversals, ones that are pushing quickly to reverse and then coming back slowly. And I'll try to grab that at it's not right. It's not enough to be correct in which way it's going yet to be correct when, but I'll try to then grab that before it quickly goes my way and grab it with the momentum as it starts swinging. So that's my strategy. The funny thing is they're both kind of different. And that's again something that a lot of people don't realize. You can make money different ways, as long as you're putting in the time and training yourself to take advantage of there's a million ways to make money in the market, and there's a million one ways to lose money in the market.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's not about strategies. Like, again, pick any strategy that's reputable, price action, support and resistance, supply and demand, ICT principles. Like, it doesn't matter. They all work. You can make money doing all of them as long as you actually spend the thousands of hours required. So again,
Yeah.
like, yeah, my biggest takeaway from it is pick a strategy by anyone relatively reasonable, and then just stick to it. And it's not just some people tell you, oh, don't switch strategies more than once a month. No, I'm telling you, don't change strategies ever. As in, you can, but for the first year, you need to pick one strategy, learn how the markets work, learn how to use it. And then, yeah, of course, as market conditions change, you're going to have to learn to adapt, but you're going to have to learn how to adapt your strategy. Otherwise, you're just changing how you swing your golf club every single time, hoping for a different result. And if you do that, you're never going to learn how to swing a golf club.
Yeah, yeah, and one other thing I would add when you're picking a strategy to use, make sure it's a strategy that involves your brain. Like when we say strategy, it's not a strategy just say, hey, when it crosses the SMA and when this whatever, right? When this candle goes like a lot of people boil their strategy down to it's literally
To a
just
mechanical system.
yeah, it's based off of oscillators and crossing SMAs and whatever, and you could easily just replace it with an algorithm. Don't take your brain out. If it's a strategy that involves no brain function, it's not a strategy that's going to work. And it's not a strategy that you're not going to be training your brain to get better at. And so you're actually going to end up plateauing at about 50-50 break even. And that's because it's random. And
Yeah,
so
exactly. So it could work, it could work, it could work depending on certain market conditions. That mechanical strategy could work for a while, but it's never going to be a good long-term solution.
Right. Yep. So pick a strategy that is going to involve that involves some brain power, that's going to take some time. But there's plenty of people out there. There's plenty of reputable strategies that will work if you put the time in, and then you can chase that, put in the hours, and eventually with the correct amount of time, you will win, as long as you put the emphasis where it should be, on your practice, on your discipline, rather than just a magic strategy.